Hi guys, Mayflom here, and today I am going to share with you a little bit more about the universal pen holder and fill patterns with the Brothers ScanNCut. Now this is from an update. There's an update on the machine that you can now do fill patterns. I did one video already. This one I'm going to dive into what the different patterns look like. But first, just as a refresher, this is the universal pen holder. You can purchase it separately from the machine, and the way it works, you pick your pen. And a lot of pens, most of the straight style of pens work. Make sure it's set to open. Pen drops in. You tighten it and you're ready to go. It's really super easy. You just don't want to put your pen in here in advance. You want to wait until you're ready to draw so that your pen doesn't dry up, but also so you don't accidentally get pen everywhere. You don't want to do that. Anyhow, let's get the machine out and let's do some tests. So it's really very simple, and I have another video where I showed how I did it, but basically what I'm going to do is just pick the basic square, and I'm just going to make it very small. And I'm doing this, I'm going to make a 1.5 inch square. I'm doing this because I just want to see what the different designs look like. Okay, and then you'd move it wherever you want to move it onto your paper and say right up here, push this button, and this button right here. This little button right here. Pushing this is going to enable the fill pattern. It's going to tell it, hey, maybe I'm doing some embossing, which guys we'll get into a little later, or maybe we're going to do some fill pattern. And say okay when you're ready. And it doesn't have to be a square, remember, it could be any shape. But here's where you get into all your options. Right in here, in fill pattern, there's 5 different options. Now, somebody on a previous video was asking about the solid. Personally, I'm having a hard time coming up with any circumstance where I would want to fill it in with a solid pen color. I'm not sure why I wouldn't be just cutting out, say if I wanted it blue, why wouldn't I be just cutting out a blue piece of cardstock? I'm sure there are some circumstances. The only thing I can think of is maybe you're making a card or something where you want it to appear stamped, but in fact it's just drawn in. That could possibly be good, but it would use a lot of ink and quickly. Then there's the straight line, and then as you can see, each pattern's a little more intricate. Here's the tip that I have with you. Okay, the machine does not know if you're using a pen like this. You see how that has a brush tip, and it's very, very flexible. Okay, and what that means is the machine doesn't know if I'm using a pen that can draw fairly thin, but also very wide. And this is also a pen that bleeds. It, you know, as I go along, I'm watching it and the color just bleeds right out. It doesn't know if I'm using that pen versus the pen that's very smooth and solid. For my money, a pen like this, it's gonna be very fluid and roll right out, but not spread. That's the kind of pen that I think works best. I've also had some luck with journaling pens when they are fresh, in other words, when they're not old and dried out, when they're fresh. But if you can just easily sit and draw and it's always very smooth, that's probably a good pen. That's a pretty good rule of thumb. So let me show you now what I came up with. Oh, sorry. When you pick your pattern, you say okay. And then here you can pick how big or small the fill line, so the spacing in between the lines is. You can also pick if you want the fill direction to be angled or not. But once you're happy with it, you say okay, you say draw, and press the start button. Paper with all of my tests. You can see up here how you can see, first of all, see how the different ones are. Now this one is at an angle because it was at an angle and I didn't adjust it back to 0, but otherwise it would be straight. Like this one. This almost looks like I hand drew it, but honestly, I think that's the most precision I've ever gotten. I don't think I can get this pen to be that precise by hand, so the machine actually did a great job of getting that to be precise. I don't think a watercolor type pen might be really interesting for something like, say, if I was doing an outline, like a draw function, not fill pattern, but an outline onto watercolor paper, which I then just like took water and just kind of added water to make it all blurry and fabulous, that could be a lot of fun. But I'm not seeing a lot of reason why I would want to do that kind of, because it really, I was watching it and it was stopping at the exact same point on all of these. It just depended on where the tip of that brush tip was changed so much about this. So that's good to know. All of these were with just the blue, my blue sparkle pen, and you can see how great it did, how pretty all of these different designs are. There's a lot of different ways. You could make them a lot bigger or you could make them smaller as well. It would depend on what you were trying to do, what you would like to do. You can also do something where, let's say you do the outline in one color, do the fill pattern in a different color. You could do that by drawing the outline, then going back in the machine, not moving your paper, saying fill pattern, picking a fill pattern and redoing it. So there's a lot of options here, and I've got some ideas for the holidays. So I'm going to keep playing with this. I hope this video has helped you if you were interested in the fill pattern function. That's definitely my favorite, but I really like this one as well. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment. I will see you next time.